Welcome back to the Crypto Teaching, guys. You know I come back with that second video. And this is on Geordie Rose, another genius, evil genius, but another genius. We're basically going over quantum computing and how AI and robots are moving fast forward. And Trump even signed executive order. I did a video on this back in March. But basically, when you think about the QAnon movement, and then you match it up with the quantum computing, guys, you see that this is all a front for the CIA. But enjoy the video. You have a wonderful day.
They're doing something completely different than what your computer does. And that thing is like flight. It gives these computers access to these new resources, maybe you could call them parallel universes, in order to do something that you couldn't otherwise do. And that's not the only one. In fact, the one I'm going to come back to and talk to in the context of the story that I'm wrapping this in was recently installed at NASA. And Google was the primary interested party that pulled this whole thing together. And this one is really exciting to me, because what they're going to do is apply this machine to an area that I think is fundamentally important. It's the crux of our future as humans. And that's, can we build machines like us? So building machines like us might be possible. I certainly believe it is. I might be wrong. But what I do know is that the types of approaches that people are taking now to build intelligent machines benefit immensely from what this machine that we've built does best. So what this center is about is applying this beautiful new computational idea in the service of trying to make intelligent machines. Now, I can't think of anything personally any cooler than trying to use quantum computers to build intelligent machines, so this is very exciting to me. Steve Jurvetson has been a longtime friend and investor in the company, and for those of you who don't know him, he's a Silicon Valley investor who's probably the smartest VC that I know of, and certainly the one that's the most attuned to technological trends. He's on the board of SpaceX, Tesla, Synthetic Genomics, which is Craig Venter's company that's trying to build artificial life, and D-Wave.
There's Geordie. Hey, Geordie. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you again.
Yeah, so the last time Geordie was here in 2013, he was the only guy in the world, he and his company, D-Wave, the only guy in the world making quantum computers. We didn't understand what quantum computers were, and I'm not sure I understand it now, but he was getting 10 million bucks a machine and selling them to some of the most important organizations in the world, like NASA, like the CIA, like Mr. Bezos. And so you gave a talk, and I looked at the talk in preparation for this thing, and I still don't quite understand what a quantum computer is. But in any case, you're not doing that anymore.
That's true.
And now you're interested in building humanoid robots that are almost identical to humans. Do I get that correctly?
That's part of it.
That's part of it. And will they be able to understand what a quantum computer is?
It's part of what I'm going to be talking about.
All right. Well, then why don't you get started?
All right. Thank you, Moses. Yeah. Thanks, everybody. So this is a really tough topic. Last time I was here, 6 years ago, I framed what I wanted to say by giving a bunch of predictions about the future. I'm not going to do that this time. What I'm going to do is, instead of predict the future, what I'm going to try to do is explain a viewpoint. And the viewpoint is shared by a lot of people who are working in call it the frontiers of AI nowadays. But to get to AI and the frontier of how we think about minds, I want to roll way
to more than double production of its existing personal protective equipment manufacturing plants. They make a lot of different things, and they're doubling and tripling their production. They're going round the clock. Today, I'm also announcing the launch of a new public-private consortium organized by the White House, the Department of Energy, and IBM to unleash the power of American supercomputing resources to fight the Chinese virus. The following leaders from private industries, academia, and government will be contributing, and they're going to be contributing a lot of different things, but primarily computing resources to help researchers discover new treatments and vaccines. They'll be working along with NIH and all of the people that are working on this. But tremendous help from IBM, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, MIT, Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, the Department of Energy's National Labor Laboratories, the National Science Foundation, and NASA. They're all contributing to this effort.
A little robot that had fingers and eyes and all that. And it could do your job better than you, no matter what it is. And I could sell that to your employer for, say, $15 and make a profit, instead of having to pay you $100,000 a year. Now imagine that was true for every single job. So that's what we're talking about here, is a complete and utter transformative change that of the likes of which has never been seen before in the history of humanity, making the Industrial Revolution look like a little tiny blip on the path that humans have taken from when we emerged from the ooze a few billion years ago. Land on that day. The amount of resources that would be marshaled to try to figure out what to do would encompass the whole world. AI is just like that. So when this thing that I'm talking about happens, it's going to be exactly the thing that you're thinking about those super intelligent AIs. So the one thing I can tell you is they're not going to be like us. So alien means, different. These things that we're building are not going to be people. They might be really smart, they might be really good at all sorts of different things, but they're not going to be like us. They're going to be aliens. And they're going to be, I'm sorry to say, way smarter than every single person in this room, in ways that we can't even comprehend. So this, of course, triggers a lot of alarm. One of the guys who talks about this is Elon, who says things like this, like, when you do this, beware. Because you think, just like the guy in the stories, that when you do this, you're going to put that little guy in a pentagram, and you're going to have your holy water out, and you're going to wave it at the thing, and by God, it's going to do exactly what you say and not one thing more, but it never works out that way. So this is an attitude that some are having, this emerging alarmism about the way this is going to go. But these words, demons, doesn't capture the essence of what's happening here. I don't know if any of you are turn-of-the-century weird fiction fans, but there's this guy named H.P. Lovecraft, who's a very famous American weird fiction author. And he espoused a view which is called cosmicism. And the essence of cosmicism is cosmic indifference. So what he was saying is basically, yes, there are these massively intelligent entities out there, but they're not good, they're not evil. They just don't give a shit about you even in the slightest. The same way that you don't care about an ant is the same way they're not going to care about you. And these things that we're summoning into the world now are not demons, they're not evil, but they're more like the Lovecraftian great old ones. There are entities that are not necessarily going to be aligned with what we want. So this transition is really, really massively important for our entire species to navigate. And going back to that thing that Sam Harris was saying, nobody is paying attention. This thing is happening in the background while people bicker about politics and what's going to be in the healthcare plan in the US. And underneath it all is this rising tsunami that, if we're not careful, is going to wipe us all out. So, on that pleasant note,